You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. Today, we are truly honored having another special guest today. And man, if you are here for something to not just inspire you, but to empower you, we have a perfect guest for you today. When it comes to an epic adventure novel marked by profound resilience, unwavering faith, and incredible global impact, we have Marnie Swedberg. She is an international leadership mentor. She has over 14 books that she's authored. She has her own #1 ranked radio show herself. She is a media expert. She is also a sought-after keynote speaker who has traveled the world. She has a lot of big names, a lot of big clients that she's been able to work with, and it shows because what she does is important. It's not only something that gives you impact, but it gives you power to make that switch or shift. When it comes to having that dynamic speaking career, she's a visionary that you want to know. She has this amazing website, womenspeakers.com. And we're going to learn more about that and all the other things that she's doing. But before I say anything else, I need to land this plane and get her on the show. First and foremost, Marnie, want to cut to the chase and say, how are you doing today?
Oh, great. Thanks for having me, Anisha. Great to be here.
I appreciate your time. I have probably 4 more paragraphs to go through, but I don't want to read all the paragraphs.
Thank you.
You think about, I kind of said the word resilience and overcoming. When you look at your biography and what you've been able to accomplish, it mentions you surviving a lot of challenges, including fires, floods, tornadoes, car wrecks, business setbacks, being robbed. I mean, you have so many twists and turns in your story. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you had to go through.
Yeah, so everybody has their own journey, right? And I've just had a lot of stuff that has happened. Some of them happened pretty back to back. But what I'm trying to think of one to share right now. I think I'm going to share about a tornado that came through. And we owned the restaurant at the time. And I was at home at my home office. We had also a retail store at the time. And this big tornado was coming toward our town. And our teenagers at the restaurant were terrified, of course. And so I said, I'll come over to the restaurant. You guys go to the shelter and we'll go from there. So I'm alone in my restaurant. Nobody's there. It's like a ghost town outside. And I'm listening to the radio as I'm cleaning up some stuff. And he said, it's time to take cover. The problem with this storm is that it's 3 storms colliding in one place right over my town. And it was a small town. So there wasn't anywhere to go except just right there. And I just all of a sudden panicked. And I thought, I don't want to die in a refrigerator, because that was my plan. When I sent the kids out, I thought, I'll just go in the refrigerator, right? And so I sent them out. And then I thought, I don't want to die in a refrigerator. And I had this picture in my head of this flying walk-in refrigerator, from a restaurant flying through the air with me in it and them finding my dead body in it later. And I thought, no. So I got in my car. And I started driving. I had to drive toward the tornado to get home where we had a basement. So I'm driving toward the tornado. I turn a corner and all of a sudden it's just hailing, like hailstones just flying at my car. Kind of picked up my car a little bit, got home, grabbed my dog, ran into the basement, and I was okay. And that tornado wiped out a whole, like it was a mile wide. It just took everything out. And the guys, my husband and my sons, were over at our retail store about a mile from the house. And that was a nice, strong building. But what my son looked out front, the first thing they knew about the tornado was my son looked out the front window of the store and he saw like a shed going by or something. He's like, something's happening. So anyway, that was a tornado. I had a lot of really close calls. We had lightning strike one time. A tree right outside of our restaurant took the tree out and knocked out all of the electronics. And by the end of that day, everything was back up and running. And a friend of ours had come and taken away the whole tree, the stump, everything was gone in one day. So I think when I come to places like this, I like to talk about resilience and about how if you just embrace the thought, in this moment, I have everything I need. It allows you to think clearly. do something that maybe you wouldn't otherwise do, and then have a result that is good. And that's what I've just seen through my life, is that as I've just been able to stay calm and to make rash decisions instead of, just crazy decisions, that it has worked out really well, and not always without any challenges, but definitely had an outcome that I'm here to tell you about, at least that much.
When you think about those crazy challenges that, any person in their right mind is going to be like, wow, okay, what's next? Obviously you don't have a positive mindset when you have, those goals, personal goals to get through anything. But we're still human. We can't always wear our Superman or Superwoman cape and think that nothing can knock us down. We're bound to get knocked down. But the question is, how do we react from those moments and those challenges? You're known for possibility thinking, grounded in profound faith. When you look at society and how often we can be focused on our fears and limitations, how do you actively cultivate and maintain that lens of possibility, especially going through challenges?
Part of it is a lot of healing maybe that has happened in the past in my life to free me up to be able to have a much more consistently positive attitude. I very rarely step out of it, really. It happens, but it doesn't happen very much anymore. And a lot of that is just because as you go through life, and let's just use an example of if you think about a cup being half full, okay? So if you say, my normal is that my glass of water is half full, okay? That's my normal. And then I sometimes I drink it dry, or sometimes it's way to the top or falling over. And as you go through life, what you find is that if you choose to, that level in your cup, and I'm going to use the cup as the analogy of your emotions, that level in your emotions tends to go higher or lower based on what you're feeding it. And so if you consistently feed yourself the, oh no, terrible, terrible, this is going to be awful, I'm not going to live through this or whatever, then that's where you're going to live. And the amount of energy, the amount of joy, the amount of positivity that you have at any given moment is going to go down. And that's going to be your norm. And now you go down from there or up from there. And so if it's consistently that you have faith, that you have courage, that you know what you're supposed to be doing, you've done some mission vision work in your life, and you know why you're here and what you're here to give to the world or bring to the world, at that point, then you have the opportunity to live at a higher level pretty much all the time. And so I learned this principle from Dr. Andrew Young, who hosts a podcast, and he's a counselor, and he had on with him a gal that had grown up it was a war-torn country. I can't remember right now which one it was, maybe North Korea. But anyway, she came in and they were talking about how, as an American, a lot of us, the normal American, has a higher base point than someone who grew up, let's say, in a communist country, a country that was very stifled, very suppressed. And so for her to have her high was not coming up to our maybe low. That's how she was experiencing life, at that much lower of a level. But you guys listening to me, wherever you are around the world, whatever your circumstance is, the goal isn't to focus on where your level is right now, but to say what I'd really like is I'd like to experience more life, more love, more light, more joy in my life. And you do that by focusing on the things that are good. And I like the plaque that says there is always, always, always something for which to be thankful.
I appreciate that, because too many times we are locked in on where we are and we want to compare it. And it's easy to do. I'll be the first one to raise my hand. It's so easy to compare yourself to someone who looks and appears to be better off than you, or achieving more than you, or just something more, right? Compared to what you have. When you look in the mirror, you're like, well, gee, when's my time? How many of us can be honest, say we had those hard discussions in our prayers, if you will, hey, God, it's me again. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been working so hard, and so seems like they just skating by, and it's easy street. But when you think about leadership and mentorship, you have done a lot of work with thousands of people. And what do you believe is something that is a core ingredient in how you see people grow from that? Because I believe it's something that we have to grow out of as we mature and surround ourselves with people that can give us that iron sharpens iron type of energy, if you will.
Yeah, I love it. So it's a kind of a biblical principle, but it applies to everything. And it's that when my mind is set on the things that are troubling me, I am troubled. When my mind is set on the things that are good and true and right and just, my mind is happy. And that is just so true. And no matter what is going on, it is up to us what we focus on about that. And there is always something to focus on that is not painful. So I started to learn this when I was having my children. I have 3 kids and I had long, hard labors and I didn't use any drugs. And so I had to have a way to get through the pain because it was very painful. And so what I would do is I would focus on a beautiful picture in a magazine that had lots of complexity to it. And I would try to pick out one thing to focus on and just kind of dissect it with my eyes. And I didn't believe that it would work. When I was first taught it, I didn't believe it would work. But my husband was sitting next to me in the class where we were learning about this technique. And the teacher said, okay, now you've practiced a little bit. Now, guys, I want you to, when she's breathing, I want you to pinch her leg as hard as you can. And that, gals, you just breathe through it. Okay. So I'm breathing and it's time for him to pinch my leg, and I'm breathing and I'm thinking as I'm breathing, he's not pinching me because he knows I'll slug him if he does. And so I got done. And then she said, now guys, I want you to pinch her just as hard as you did, but this time she doesn't get to breathe through it. I couldn't believe how hard he had pinched me. He had pinched me so hard. And I had felt none of it, just like almost that he hadn't been pinching me. And it made me a believer. It made me a believer in that when we focus our attention off of the painful thing and onto something that is beautiful or helpful or good or true, that it does relieve the pain. And that's when, at that moment when the pain is relieved, is when we have the ability to think clearly enough to make a choice. Otherwise, what's happening is your brain is all consumed with the problem. You have no mental capacity to actually come up with a solution.
Once again, listen to Refocus Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest today, Marnie Swedberg. Go to her website, marnie.com. I want to pick up on what you said about focusing on something that's beautiful, something that's positive, something that's good. Yeah. It is so easy to shift your focus. I don't think people really truly understand just how simple it is. In a split second, something happens. I mean, when you're driving, sometimes you notice when there's like a car accident or you see EMS or police on scene, how many people naturally slow down, not because of the situation, but because they're curious to watch, right? But the problem is we can watch too long on the wrong thing versus what we should be paying attention to in front of us. So use that as an analogy. In life, we can get caught up in being distracted by something that we keep our eyes locked in on that thing. We very well will miss opportunities that are right in front of our face.
Yeah. I use the merry-go-round analogy. So when you're at a children's park, they have these merry-go-round things and you have to get them going, you know? So at first it's just dead still. And then you start kind of running alongside of it and somebody stays out and does the pushing. Everybody else gets on and hangs on. And at first easy to jump off, right? But then after a little bit, when it gets going really fast, you don't dare to jump off because it's going so fast now that you're feeling like if I jump off, I'm in trouble. It's the same with a roller coaster. I mean, when you're just at the gate, it's no worries. But if you jump off during the ride, you're going to be hurt. So what happens with our thoughts then is we have a new thought that comes in. And if we nurture that thought, if we keep focusing on it, if we keep petting it, just making it feel right at home in our heads, then it's going to gain momentum to the point where it's no longer easy to jump off. It's no longer easy to change you're just on a runaway train there. And so that makes it pretty hard to make that choice. When you do it early on, when you capture that thought right at the beginning, you're able to actually choose what you're going to do about it. So it's both true. It is easy to choose if you choose soon enough. And it's kind of like, think about an addiction. Your thoughts kind of model that in a tiny way. Your thoughts model that every day. So if I'm going to keep focusing on this thing, it's going to become a bigger thing in my life.
And when people watch this, and hopefully if you have a friend or family, make sure you share this, share the knowledge, share the insights that you're seeing and hearing. When you think about impact, because you host and you're the founder of womenspeakers.com. It's one of the largest global directories for Christian women speakers. When you think about that, I love the idea of what you said about a runaway train. At first, maybe the beginning is not much of a problem, but then that problem starts to grow and grow and grow to where it becomes dangerous, if you will, where it's too risky to just have an abrupt decision. You gotta almost navigate your way back home to home base. When you think about impact, what are some of the things that you notice leaders are able to do when that difficult moment comes, but they must make a decision before it derails, if you will?
So the train analogy is such a strong analogy, and I use it a lot with habits, and it works with the size of your organization as well. So if you have a small habit that you just barely started doing, you can turn it around really fast. If you have a small business and you just started doing it, you can make changes really fast. If you have a huge organization or a big habit that's been grounded in for years, it's going to take some time. And you just think of a huge ocean liner or a big train, and it's going, the train might be going 50, 80 miles an hour. You're not going to just say, turn right. It's not going to happen. If you do that, it's going to derail, right? You're going to have a crash. And so when you are working with something that's bigger, that's harder, whatever, you have to give it time. And a lot of leaders don't grow into that, maybe as quickly as they need to, because they're used to being the only person that it involves, and being able to turn on a dime, turn all the way around, get out of something right away. And so it's important for leaders to learn, the size of what they're dealing with, to pay attention to how big this ship is. And to, if you need to turn it, or if you need to turn it around or back out of something, to give enough time. Also for your people, they need time to process what you're talking about. If you're going to make a massive change, you can't just announce it on a Monday and expect everybody to be on board by Monday at 10 in the morning. You're going to have to prepare it, get people's brains ready, get all this stuff in place, then announce it, then give us some time for it to be onboarded. And it's going to be a while before people are really doing a good job. So I feel like in leadership, a lot of times what happens is there just isn't enough, you want to impact more people, and that requires change. You're going to have to change. You're going to have to make changes, but you have to give enough time, enough bandwidth. Kind of think of an airplane taking off. Okay, it does an amazing thing, an airplane flying across the sky, but it has to have a runway. You can't just say, boop, up in the air. So you need to give your changes, your people, a little runway, and then you'll be able to impact more.
And what I'm getting from that is something that always comes up in the show, and that's preparation. Because if you are in the spotlight and it's time to perform, time to display what you've been working on, all that kind of depends on what was the prep beforehand. How did you prepare mentally? How did you prepare, taking action, if you will? Kind of touched on that for our audience, because you have spoken to diverse audiences around the world, and different cultures, different, personalities. How do you see that being something that not only can people learn, but they can appreciate?
I was raised by a mom who was very organized. She was incredibly organized. And she would say, the reason we organize things in advance is so we can be flexible in the moment. And I really love that. And that's proven so true. The more work you put in ahead of time, the more opportunities and flexibility you'll experience as you progress. So preparing is huge. And that's what we're doing the whole time we're going to school. We're preparing for what's coming next. You don't just launch into life from the womb. You have years to kind of learn things and get ready. And then when you go into something new for you, you have to give yourself time to understand it, to learn it. When you hire new people, and all of us, hiring a new person is hard. That's hard on everybody because they don't know what they're doing and they need so much help. But as you make a process so that you can onboard people, you're going to find that they're going to be able to learn it better and grow better. So preparedness is huge. It's really an important piece to it. And you feel it. You feel it when people just go flying into something without taking really consideration of what the cost is going to be, how the effects are going to be.
When people fly, if you will, out of I'll call it randomness, there's a time and place for that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When you're by yourself,
spontaneity, yeah.
Call it chill mode. Yeah. It's not going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. But if you do that in a public setting, it may not be great unless you're doing improv, jazz or something. But
right.
Preparation is kind of like prerequisite courses before you get to the next course. You usually can't take the more professional level course until you have mastered the prerequisite in college. But when you think about that from a business lens, what's some of the things that you help your audience to understand through looking through the lens of reaching different milestones and levels in the professional world business?
Yeah. I personally just continue. If you can be a lifelong learner, that's just going to aid you so much. If you just see yourself as someone who's always learning, and once you get done learning something, you start learning either the next level of that or else something else, and you just continue to find a lot of joy in the learning process, that's going to help you a lot. When we bought our restaurant, we had never owned a restaurant, and we had some large lessons to learn. Things that did not go at all the way we thought they would go. And some of them were thousands of dollars of lost money. Like I remember one time we lost, I think, $8,000 in a month. And this was a small restaurant. It was like a huge loss for us. And we didn't know how to process that loss. Like, how do you think about that? We thought it was going to work, what we were trying. And so what we decided to do is we decided to actually call them college credits. And if it would have been, at a big college, maybe it would have been $1,000 a credit. So we said that was an 8-credit lesson. That's what we just learned. And we don't have to ever do that again. Going into it, we learned some things that we could watch for before we made a similar mistake in the future. And actually, you just have to reframe it. So that felt terrible. That felt terrible to lose that much money, especially because we were looking at it as a money maker. So not only did we not make the money we thought, but we lost money. But when we reframed it, it allowed us to go forward with courage to try new things in the future and not say, well, I'm never trying anything new again because I might lose my shirt. Well, you just have to figure out a way to put it in your mind, and reframing is huge. Your show is called Refocus. And this is the thing. When you're looking through a binocular or something, and it doesn't look right, it doesn't turn, it isn't giving you the right picture, all you do is you refocus it, and it can give you some helpful information, and you can go forward. So as you're going through life, that is the whole thing. If you are in a business, if you're in a situation where you need to take risks, and it is risky, and you lose money or whatever, you have to have a way to look at it that doesn't say, it's the end of the world. This is a doomsday scenario. It's never going to work. We might as well just close down right now. Don't go there. Reframe it, refocus, and get going. The coaching that I do at Marnie.com is called Courage and Clarity Coaching. Because when you have clarity, but you don't have courage, you just are sitting still. You can't move. You can't get yourself to move. But when you have courage and you don't have clarity, now you're just running around like a chicken with its head cut off. You just don't know which direction to go. And you're just not, you're just looking crazy. So when you put them together, when you have the courage and the clarity, then you become more like a laser beam, and you're able to actually slice right through the stuff that was preventing you from moving forward. And you're able to actually accomplish what's in your heart to do. So that's what I always just encourage. If you want to impact more people, get very clear about what you're supposed to be doing. And when I think of impacting more people, what you do is you find a service to offer that people need and will pay for. That's basically, if you're going to grow a business, you have to have something that people need and want and will pay for. And if you can do that, you have a much greater chance of success than if you're just doing something because you love it. And you should love your work. I love my work every day, but you need to find something that you can love that other people need and have the ability to pay for.
Once again, listen to Refocus Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest, Marnie Swedberg. Go to her website, Marnie.com. And closing, I do want to hit what you said moments ago about clarity and courage. I think that is the two things that you carry with you as you are continuing to push yourself and grow in life. Because I think a lot of times, like, for example, we're doing this show right now. Our audience, they love when you get, I always say, cut to the chase. They love when you get to the point. They love when you have that clarity of what you're trying to say in your message, because they can spend, a lot of time trying to figure out where you're going, but then they swipe away or they exit out and go to something else, because that is the focal point of what we are as humans. What are you offering? What are you providing as value? And without purpose, I love what you said about running with your head cut off, because it's so easy to do. We make life so complicated, but a lot of times we just have to pause and say, okay, something's clearly wrong. Let's figure out why before we continue and move forward.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When you think about the future of your business, we have X amount of months left in 2025. Yeah. This year has already went by. 6 months already. People, if you are not doing what you say you're going to do, you're already late to the party. What will you say for those who still are on the edge, excited about the future, but they still worry themselves about the news cycles and what's going on with everyone's opinions and doubts and fears? What would you say to just leave out there to keep that focus on what they're trying to build?
Yeah. Well, I think probably a lot of you listening to us today are very engaged in the news right now, and it's causing you to be fearful and to want to pull back and maybe hide and wait and play it safe and all those things. And I just have to tell you, I have none of that in my heart at all. I don't have any of that feeling. I listen to the news to identify what's happening, kind of at a global level. But mostly what I know for sure is that I can't understand most of what's going on in any way that I could have the ability to affect it. Most of what's going on is so far above my pay grade that sitting and watching it for hours on end or even minutes on end is just not something I'm going to invest my time into. I want to stay aware, but I also want to choose what I'm going to do with my life. And what I want to do with my life is I want to keep serving people. I want to keep connecting people. I want to keep raising people's water level. If we go back to that first, description, and I'm just going to tell you, if you just keep consuming things that are negative and that are just fear, the news is not actually, the news should not be called the news. The news should be called the worst things that we can gossip about today. That's what the news should be called. Because it's not the news. There's a whole bunch of news you're not seeing. You're not seeing all the important news. You're seeing a few things that they thought will capture your attention in a way that your fear will hold you to their channel longer. That's what they're sharing with you. You're not getting the full story. You're not getting the truth, and you don't have to let them decide how you think about it. I just had this thought earlier today. There's so much going on in the news, and I could just sit and watch it too. I'm just like, I'm human too. I could just sit and watch it, just let it just come in and just overwhelm my thoughts. And I just thought, but why would I want to? Why would I choose that? It's a choice. So I'm just not choosing that, and I'm just having a fantastic day. And I'm just going to say, if you read my bio, I have been through enough hard stuff to know that every day won't be fantastic. And that if there is some kind of a big thing and it affects me or people I love, that we're going to get through that too. And if we die, then we do the next thing after that, which is for me go to heaven. But I just know it's going to be okay. And so with that courage and with that confidence, I just clearly walk forward. And I challenge you, if you are too scared to walk forward, what are you looking at? Because it's not the whole story what you're getting on the news. You're only seeing the most explosive type of things that is going to trigger you and your brain to not get out of it, to not let go, to just keep watching and watching and watching. It's a plan, and it's not good for you.
Last thing I would say to that is, if you don't like where you are, maybe it's time to change your direction.
Right. Don't keep doing the same things, hoping for a different result, right? Yeah.
Because eventually, you're going to get tired eating that cold oatmeal. Mm-hmm. You're going to say, what am I doing? Yeah. And that's what it takes sometimes. You have to wake up to the fact no one's coming to rescue you. You have to be the person that says it's time for a change. And you just start one step at a time. Had someone say, if you just focus on 1% better every day, you're going to be a lot better, in a lot better shape than someone who just lets life pass by and say, I'll just go with the wind. Not a good idea. So once again, talking to our guest today, Marnie Swedberg. Go to her website, marnie.com. Learn about what she can offer to you with her resources. If someone wants to connect with your service and understand the different resources you have, your books, what's the best way they can stay updated? I know it's your website, but if you're on social media too, let them know where they can follow.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere, either Mentor Marnie or else Marnie Swedberg. You can find me on all the socials. And if you go to Marnie.com, which is MARNIE.com, if you go there, you can find all the social links there and just go right in. And I do a morning motivation most days, and I'm on a lot of podcasts and I love sharing stuff like this. So if you need some encouragement, check it out.
Well, I'd always want to say to our guests, thank you for your time.
Thanks.